And on a good night, my goodness, South London Soul Train at the Bussey Building was truly one of the best clubs in the world. That's the sound. So dun 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 dun. You know, and that's the kind of way that the remixes and the productions get made, really. Honestly, we've never had an argument, have we, Andy, in all of the decades?
No.
Since school days when we were like 13, 14 years old, 12, 11, whatever, all the way through till now, and we've never had an argument.
Give me your number as a private message, and I'm going to call. And I was like, okay. You know, like thousands of people in the chat, and you wanted to, take my number. So like when he finished that stream that night, he basically just called. He said, "Can I give you a call?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool." And he just basically said to me that like the first mix CD I ever did, called The Document. He said that basically changed the way that he DJ'd.
We do a party in somebody's living room with two hifis mixing, like one would have a rotary thing, one and we'd have a hi-fi each, trying to look, stop, fading out.
Yeah, I'm going out now.
Fade it down there. I'm going to bring it.
We used to play football together before we even got into music, didn't we, Nick?
Well, I really feel blessed to be doing this stuff with my best mate. I think it's amazing, man.
Right, welcome back to another podcast, and today I've got Nick and Andy from Reach Up Disco Wonderland. Thanks for joining me, boys. Thanks very much.
Good to be here, man. How are you, mate?
Good,
Thanks,
mate.
good.
Good. I know you've had a brief little conversation before, but like I do with all my guests, I'm going to kick off about yourselves. I can start with Nick. What was your music journey like growing up? Influences and that journey.
Yeah, well, I mean, fortunately, a bunch of the early influences were shared with Andy, which is quite an interesting thing. So sometimes I do these interviews and I'll reference Andy, but it's great that he's actually on the interview with me, because a whole bunch of my influences were shared experiences with Andy when we were kids. So
I can confirm if it's right.
Yeah, you can. So I suppose for me, the journey started at a really young age, actually. And the first kind of pop band that I was into was a group called The Sweet. I bought a little 7-inch at Loughborough Market of a record of theirs called Teenage Rampage. And I loved it, and I was into watching Top of the Pops and all the rest of it. And funnily enough, my brother took me to Loughborough University on an afternoon when the Sweet were playing that evening. And so at a very young age, I got to see this band arrive for sound check. It was like a really, like a tinted Windows Merc or something like that. And they got out and they looked really cool. And I thought, oh, God, that's pretty cool, whatever's going on here. So that was a very, very early sort of taste of sort of behind the scenes music activity, which I liked the look of, even though I was probably only flipping 7 years old or something. But then really the immersion into music started when I was a bit older, and when I'd kind of gone through the football phase of my upbringing, if you like, where football was the thing for a bit, and then it turned more into music. And then Andy and I were the kids at school that were really into disco stuff and DJs, and we were interested in both the pop and rock records of the time, but then the penny dropped on the dance music of the time. And somehow we both found ourselves into really quite hip Black American music of our youth, which would have been acts like D-Train or The Whispers or, Shalimar, maybe whatever kind of soul, funk stuff was really exciting us when we were, let's say in our teens at school. And as was DJ and dance music culture. So we were excited, by Greg Wilson mixing on the tube, we were excited to go to clubs and scam our way in there as sort of 14 or 15-year-olds. And which you could do in those days. And find ourselves in these exciting, really interesting environments, because maybe I'd told my parents, I'm staying the night at my friend's house, and somebody else had said, but they're staying the night at somebody else, whatever. And then you find yourself, you've engineered it so you're like, we're bunking into some club as a couple of 15-year-olds somehow. And yeah, very exciting, all of that. And so that became my passion. I would say when I was, maybe like 17, 18, really into dance music and dance music culture. And then I moved up to London to go to uni. So that meant I could get involved in running clubs and putting on acts and sort of all the stuff that you do when you're at uni, or the things that you can do at university. And then I worked abroad several summers. I did a summer in America. I did a summer sort of traveling around Europe, one in Mallorca, one in Ibiza. Nice. And then I was into the world of work. So, I mean, it could take hours just talking me through all of that. But that's some headlines that get you at least until the point of where I sort of entered the world of work. But yeah, I was DJing abroad. So yeah, nice. I mean, some really good lessons learned there. I DJ'd at a club called Tokyo Joe's in Magaluf in Mallorca, or Shagaloof, as everybody used to call it in those days, for obvious reasons. And, I was DJing from 10 at night till 6 in the morning, every night of the week. I didn't have a night off, mate, for months. So I'm like putting records on in my sleep, I like queuing stuff up, not knowing whether I'm asleep or awake, because, that's just, so... Ugh. Can you imagine DJing for sort of 8 hours every day for months? Yeah, so I tell you what, though, but you learn, man, and you learn like, right, how to play certain records, and like the big records of the night are getting 3 spins. 1, to entice people on the dance floor. 2, peak time, dance floor moment. 3, let's reach for this record to keep people in the club, because it's 5 a.m. and we need to try and keep people in and drinking. So I learned all of this stuff, and worked at a radio station. I worked at WBLS in New York. When I was at uni, I was an intern there, blanked my way in, and that was amazing. So I was literally making the coffees and getting the sandwiches in for Marley Marl or whatever it was, I mean, amazing time. So those are the headlines of my journey. I mean, I can dig into more depth, but yeah, that at least gets me to sort of like, work level entry for me, Brad.
Nice one. What about yourself, Andy? I know Nick obviously said, like, you kind of had the same influences in music and stuff like that, but
yeah. Well, it's closely related, because we did go to the same school. In growing up, we grew up in the place called Port Said. And that was a good synopsis that Nick gave there. He missed out a couple of bits, which I might go through. So yeah, we both kind of got into music in the late 70s, I guess, Nick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you were just sweet a bit earlier on, maybe, but I can remember we were on a school trip, going somewhere on a school trip, and the radio was on, and I didn't really used to care about what was on the radio, because it was just background kind of music for a while. And then I remember hearing a record by Ian during the Blockheads called What a Waste, which was written in 1978. And that just changed I heard that and just thought, hang on, this sounds completely different to all the other background stuff that I always heard before. So that kind of got me into music. And then from there, kind of used to listen to radio quite religiously. Like John Peel on Radio 1, for example, would play a crazy mix of kind of punk of the time, and then play crazy dub reggae tunes, and then an out there pop record, and just a real kind of mix master stuff. So in the early days, it wasn't necessarily about DJing, I don't think. And it's interesting that Nick mentioned about the football. So like, we used to play football together before we even got into music, didn't we, Nick?
Wow.
So
yeah, that was our big thing,
football at break times. And then all of a sudden there was a time when we just switched from football, and then we were just into music. And yeah, we on the radio, it was like Tony Prince. They used to do the disco import show on Radio Luxembourg on a Friday night. That was a big thing for us. There was a mix part of that show, which was done by a guy called Alan Coulthard, where he segued records together, and we'd never heard that done before. I don't think, having it, it's like, there would be like a solar mix, wouldn't it, or a certain artist, a Michael Jackson mix, one week, Cool and the Gang the next week. And I think we were just amazed about kind of the club culture and how it kind of worked. And then we were into secondary school by 79, 80, and we I think we're pretty much the only kids at school that were aware of this kind of club culture, because all our other friends were into heavy metal, or two-tone was kind of big, or just kind of pop music. But yeah, we used to go up record shopping trips from Portishead into Bristol on a Saturday, and we buy. And it's kind of weird because I work in a record shop now, and we used to go into because all the shops used to sell records, all the department stores, there was always a record department. So we'd always hit all the record departments and go in the cheap section and buy, we didn't even know what some of these things were. We just thought the color looks good, maybe it had funky in the title or something. We just buy all this stuff, and we buy it cheap. And then now, as I say, now I work in a record shop. And some of those records that we used to buy cheap are now worth quite a lot of money, because it's all come around again. A lot of people are into disco now.
For sure,
But then we kind of meet people on the bus, won't we, coming back, school friends, and they'd be like, what you got in the bag? Because they'd obviously have the new Motorhead album or AC/DC album, and we'd have to just go,
dial it out.
It's just some rubbish, cheap stuff. George Benson, I don't know, and Brenda Russell, I don't know, Shalimar. It wasn't really cool to be into this kind of deep.
We knew that our friends would be like, "What on earth is that stuff? What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
So we downplayed it. Oh, just some cheap stuff. We just thought we'd buy it just in case it's any good. I don't know.
But we did know that there was kind of these cool clubs in New York. Paradise Garage was kind of going on in New York, and there was cool kind of jazz funk all dayers in Essex and around the UK. So we did read magazines that told us about this scene that existed, but we had to kind of not really tell them about mates, did we? But yeah, it's just kind of a funny thing, really. But then I think another thing that Nick missed out on is that in our school in Portishead, the place, there used to be like school discos, didn't there? There was a local disco crew called the Crazy Psychedelic Shack, and we used to go and see them and just marvel about what they were doing, because this is the first time we'd ever seen two turntables next to each other with a mixer, and it's like, wow, what they do. I mean, they weren't the best mixers in the world, but it was just exciting to actually watch it, because you couldn't watch it on television. There was nothing on TV in those days, and I think we just got the buzz of it, didn't we? Just seeing everybody that we knew from school just going crazy dancing, and we thought, wow, this is exciting. So
this has stayed with us through the years, and even last night, we both of us were DJing last night. I was DJing in London at one of our Reach Up events, and Andy was playing down in Cornwall. And so, funnily enough, for me last night, at the gig I played, the guy who was DJing alongside me played Stomp by the Brothers Johnson. And I said to him, "Oh, great, you're playing Stomp by the Brothers Johnson," because I said, I remember the time when myself and Andy was standing on stage, and these guys that we're talking about, Crazy Psychedelic Shack, had their rig up on the stage, the decks and the speakers and all that. And then down in front of them, were the punters at a lower level on the sort of dance floor. But Andy and I were on the stage kind of watching the guys DJ. And they put on the Brothers Johnson song. And I think we both thought, pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah, I quite like this.
I think I could be doing this, maybe.
It's good to be here. The track's good. And I like the view. I like the view behind the decks, with the crowd in front of me. I'm like, I'm very comfortable with this.
And
it's
being
not
being in charge of the music that was being played, and having authority over what people were listening to is an exciting thing.
So I think we both thought at that gig, and this was before we'd really done gigs ourselves. I think at that gig we both thought this is cool. We both like this stuff, and then of course we've obviously gone on both to play so many gigs since then, both separately and together, and in all kinds of different places geographically, and decades. It's amazing, really.
Brad, I mean, after that gig, we kind of got the disco decks, didn't we? And we did do some gigs in and around Portishead, for a bunch of kids, really. But it was all good experience to do. And then Nick went off to London. I stayed in Portishead. And I just DJ'd a little bit as a bit of a hobby with friends, and did a Friday and Saturday in a quite commercial club in Bristol. But it was never really going to be my career path. I didn't think at that point. So and I ended up getting a regular job working in an office. And but when I was working in this club at the weekends, I did save up money to buy a set of Technics. That was like 86. I got my Technics because I just wanted them at home, and I just wanted to kind of play about with it at home. I didn't think it would ever come to much. But then I did a gig at the youth club in Portishead. I'm talking about Portishead, the place still here. In Portishead in about the late it's just after I got my dates. It must have been 87, 88, which is where I met Jeff Barrow, who was the main guy behind the band Portishead. And I was, playing hip hop and kind of rare groove and funk stuff at this point. And he was the only kind of person in the room that kind of knew like what I was playing. It's funny. Nick mentioned Marley Marl. I remember him coming up and going, "Marley Marl scratch, wicked, MC Shan on that," and I'm like, "Wow, how does somebody know this is MC Shan rapping on this tune?" Because nobody else really understood about that at all. So I got really kind of close with Jeff, and then he was working on the original demos for the first Portishead album. Not that the band had a name at that point, but he had a sampler in his bedroom, but he didn't really have any records to sample. But I had loads and loads of records, so I just used to take him crates of records up and say, "Oh, have you ever heard that? Have you ever heard that?" And he'd just be like looping up beats and just making ideas, really. So that's how I kind of met up with Jeff. And even in those early days, he kind of said to me, "Well, yeah, I'm going to start this band, and when it gets big, you can DJ, you can open up for the band and all that." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, Jeff, yeah, right." And then it was like 95, the first album came out, and I did go on tour with him, and he was true to his word. He let me DJ with him, and I went all around the world DJing with Portishead, and became the kind of Portishead club DJ, if you like, because DJ culture was so big in the 90s. And I was working in another record shop then, actually, and people were phoning the record shop trying to book me for gigs. So I was actually taking bookings as I was working in the record shop.
That's cool.
So I ended up leaving the record shop and just went on tour with Portishead and became the Portishead DJ, and then went on to do like loads of DJ mix CDs, and I'm still here today doing it.
That's cool stories, mate. How you both sort of did your thing, and then where did the collaboration process then obviously you start forming? When did the idea sort of spark in your heads and picking up the name and everything like that? When did that all sort of develop?
So there's two phases here. There's when we ran a mobile disco together as kids. So and that just sort of organically developed. One thing led to the next So I mean, that started off so basic, Brad, you wouldn't believe it. I mean, it was the stack hi-fi from my house, the sort of horizontal one from Andy's.
Yeah.
And then we would cart these two hi-fis around. Obviously, that's 4 speakers, no mixer. And then we'd do a party in somebody's living room with 2 hi-fis mixing, one would have a rotary thing, one and we'd have a hi-fi each, trying to look, stop fading out.
Yeah, I'm going out now.
Fade it down there. I'm going to bring it. Whatever. Ridiculous.
Back-to-back DJ.
Ridiculous when you think.
It sounds similar to my sort of story as well. Like when I was a kid, I was at school, I did all the kids' 16th birthday parties.
Yeah.
I have Stanton vinyls and then the CDJ 100s I got. And then I kind of did similar sort of thing, yeah.
Well, it's very, very basic stuff. So we had that, and then that moved into, sort of Andy getting a pair of Citronic, decks, like the 2 turntables together that you could sort of carry around. And then I'd be, like building, like a light box with like a red, yellow, blue light, painting it white or whatever. And like, look, I've made this, like thing
Classic
with 3
disco.
lights in it or whatever. So we had all of that going in our teens, really, when we were at school together, and then the second phase is essentially is pretty much Reach Up Disco Wonderland, where what happened there was, we skipped forward quite a lot of time, and we go to sort of maybe 10, 11 years ago, I guess, Andy, is it? Something like that? 10, 11, 12?
Yeah, the Reach Up thing. Yeah, because we kind of diverged and we went off to do our own thing, like mid to late 80s. Nick went off to London and then, as you say, went to New York. I stayed in Bristol and you did your thing, XL and everything. I did my Portishead thing. We did that for a while, and then we kind of converged, have come kind of back together again, haven't we?
Yeah.
We were always friends the whole time, but...
Yeah, because, I mean, you moved up to London, Andy, didn't you? So,
yep.
And then, and then what sort of happened was, I for a while, my view on DJing was that when I DJ, it needs to be like really cutting edge.
Mm-hmm.
So then I need to be playing really the hippest, newest, latest, edgiest stuff. And maybe I mesh it with some classic stuff, but generally speaking, it needs to be new and fresh and exciting and all that. There was
the other way around.
You were there. The opposite. So for obviously with us being like that at that point, there wasn't really like a meeting point in the middle particularly. But I'd done a bunch of gigs. So maybe like I supported the Prodigy, who I worked with for many years in different capacities, and kind of was playing some gigs around the UK. Drum and bass and some breaky stuff, etc., dubstep, whatever. But then I started turning up to a gig that Andy did on his own in Camden on a Friday night, and I would just go along to hang out and have a pint of cider in the way that most mates might arrange to meet. Oh, shall we go to the pub together? Yeah, we will. Let's meet at the King's Head, and you'll both sit there and chat and have a pint, whatever. In our case, Andy would be like, well, I'm, DJing from 9 till 2 at wherever. I'll be like, yeah, I'll come along. So I'd come along, we'd have a drink, we'd chatting, catching up, how's it going? And then naturally, I'd be like, do you want me to stick a few on? And Andy'd be like, yeah, I could do, with a little bit of a break, actually. I've been playing for a couple of hours. So then Andy will go, oh, the disco bits are at the, at the back of the, okay, great. So then I'd kind of go, oh, right, in deep, we'll go, oh, Diana, yeah, all right, okay. And I'll sort of just stick together a few classic disco bits, and I'd quite enjoy it, actually. And so because I quite enjoyed it, I started to loosen up a bit. I'm like, you know what, maybe it is all right to play kind of classic dance and not be so hung up on being edgy, edgy and new all the time. And then I think we did a night together called 808, if my memory serves me correctly, Andy. Is that right?
Right, yeah, in Shoreditch. 808, yeah.
So we did
it wasn't strictly disco, was it?
No, it was a sort of cross the board 80s kind of thing that we did.
Right.
And then we sort of morphed into the idea of doing Reach Up. I'm not sure that I had the Disco Wonderland tag at that time, and there was three of us, early doors. There's myself, Andy, and a guy called Chrissy Kybush working together. And then it became Reach Up Disco Wonderland, and then we kind of hit a bit of momentum with that. And then that morphed again, and it became just myself and Andy after some years. And really, that's been the second phase of us working together collaboratively, both to DJ out and about. And then it sparked, the Reach Up compilation series on BBE that Andy can tell you more about. And really, it also sort of sparked my production and remixing activities, Nick Reach Up, which didn't exist before. But basically, when Andy and I started to have regular gigs playing disco and where disco meets house, I found myself thinking, I wish I had a few of my own bits to play here, things that are like exclusive to me or that excite me that maybe other people, aren't widely available. So I started knocking up a few little bootleggy things and remixes and stuff, and then started releasing a couple of bits under the name Nick Reach Up. And then that grew and kind of got offered some proper remixes, and then made a few tracks. Had a couple of tracks out on a label called Midnight Riot, and then, I think probably remixed Degrees of Motion, perhaps Expansions. Got offered Kylie, Mel C, a few other bits. So funnily enough, like us doing, it's like one thing leads to the next, really. And maybe none of that would have happened if Andy and I weren't back DJing together. And then maybe the three comps, obviously, on BBE, Andy, that happened because we were doing those nights, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been releasing compilation albums, since 97, 98. So I've always tried to put comps out because I like doing that. And so I've done compilations of like cross-genre comps, and then I've done like Northern Soul compilations, and I've done like reggae compilations and 50s R&B, loads of different stuff. So when we started doing the Reach Up nights, it just seemed it would be a good idea to kind of move into the disco kind of area and do that. So yeah, the third Reach Up Disco Wonderland compilation on BB is out in October.
October the 4th?
October the 4th, yeah.
Nice,
so
nice.
and that's well, that comes out like on triple vinyl and CD with like a unmixed CD and a mixed CD. I did the first 2 mixed CDs, but the third one, on the one that's coming out on October the 4th, has actually been mixed by a guy called Scratch Bastard. I don't know if you know
yes,
Scratch
I've
Bastard
met him
from Toronto. Yeah.
Met him at
well,
Base
Andy,
Coast Festival.
Brad is in Canada, actually. You might not know
right,
this.
of course, yeah, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I kind of knew of Scratch Bastard a little bit before lockdown, but then when everybody was DJing on Facebook and then Twitch, I just kind of got watching his streams and I was like, God, this guy's amazing, And then I think he happened to notice that I was in his chat room at one point, and he was like, give me your number as a private message, and I'm gonna call. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Like thousands of people in the chat, and he wanted to, take my number. So like when he finished that stream that night, he basically just called. He said, "Can I give you a call?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool." And he just basically said to me that like the first mixed CD I ever did, called The Document. He said that basically changed the way that he DJ'd, because before that he only pretty much played hip hop, and because The Document was a mix of lots of different styles of stuff, not just hip hop. I mean, it was based in hip hop, but it had old funk records and rock records with a kind of a beat to it, and soundtracks and stuff. And he said that listening to that made him change the way he DJ'd. So
that's cool.
I was great that he said that. I wouldn't have known that, but he wanted, call up and tell me that, which was really nice of him. And then I just watched him many times and chatted to him for a bit, and I just thought, well, wouldn't it be great if he could do the mix of the Reach Up comp, because he thinks he's massive on Twitch, but I'm not sure if he's as big as he should be, like outside of the internet, which is needs to happen, I think.
I there's a festival here in British Columbia in Canada called Base Coast, and I got the opportunity to take the podcast to the festival, and there's so they've got like the artist green room tent, and I actually had a tent outside of that with like a studio built up. I took a whole studio and had the podcast in there, and I woke up out of my tent, and we were like both tired, and I said, "You Scratch Bastard?" He was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Oh, I'll do a podcast here." I was like, "You're a legend." He's like, "Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm really tired." And he went back to sleep. So
well, you bump into all sorts of people out and about, don't you, on your travels? And like whenever you're at a festival, I mean, Andy and I have played a bunch this summer. We did 4 or 5 this summer, about 5 or 6 maybe the summer before. And yeah, I actually love that, the way that it brings people together, and you do have these random chats, and you can just find out that somebody goes, "Oh mate, that particular record that Nick that you did, that you released in whatever, oh, that was really important for this reason or that." I'm like, "Oh, was it? Oh wow, amazing." But that person probably wouldn't have messaged me, but just you bump into them in a festival or sometimes in a club and you get chatting, and then you learn these things. So yeah, I'm excited that Scratch Bastard is involved in the third Reach Up comp. And it's nice for there to be a series of 3. It's hard enough in this day and age to get one official mix compilation up and happening, but to get to the third's great. And we feel that there's still quite a lot of stuff we'd like to do with Reach Up Disco Wonderland. Actually, even though we've been doing it some years, there's a bunch of countries that we haven't played yet that we'd like to. Obviously, we've done a bunch of international bits, and we've been lucky and done some really good stuff. Played for Carl Cox 3 years on the bounce in Ibiza, which is great. We've done Berlin and Portugal and Ireland, and I played Thailand earlier this year. But there's still a lot to do, and it's quite nice that even though Andy and I have known each other for so many years, it's quite nice that we've still got some sort of uncharted territory and aspirations of things that we would like to do, to keep sort of things moving forward, and to keep us interested and excited about what the future might hold. It's quite a cool thing when you've known somebody, for many, decades.
And also one of the things that I always say to people, the fact that we've known each other so many years or so many decades, is that like when we DJ together, we often like we're together like playing maybe a tune each, which I know a lot of other people do, but we've known each other so long that like somebody might pull something out and then the other one will go, actually, do you think maybe we should go there instead? And I'll be like, oh yeah, maybe you're right, you go there. So we actually value each other's opinion. I might say, actually, I'm maybe not that one, but this one, and you go, yeah, okay. You know, there's no like competition. It's just that we just want the best record to be played the next for the people. And I think that's quite unique.
Yeah, that's good.
It's
having two minds working at the same time.
Because there's other DJs that I've played sort of alongside, and it's a different thing. So where they've gone, I'm queuing up a certain record, I've gone like, oh, wouldn't such and such, and like they might have gone like, that's like a bit of a strange, it all becomes uncomfortable because like they know what they want to do, and the fact that I might suggest something different might be a bit weird.
I mean, we don't always use the suggestions. Sometimes I might just go, no, I'm going to play this, and then you go, oh yeah, you're right, actually. That happens sometimes as well. But it's just good to have another person saying, suggested something. But you don't have to go there. But it's just we don't really care because we've known each other so long.
Yeah, it's good that. And funnily enough, one of the things that Andy and I say, and this is amazing, Brad, is we've never had an argument.
I was going to ask you if there's been any sort of mishaps. Yeah.
No, we've never had. We've never had an argument, have we, Andy? In all of the decades,
no.
Since school days when we were like 13, 14 years old, 12, 11, whatever, all the way through till now, and we've never had an argument. I don't even know. I'm trying to think what like a point of conflict. I don't know. Maybe like you said, where. Maybe when you've got, I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna play D-Train now. They're gonna play D-Train. You'll be like, no, I'm gonna play it. I don't know.
That's probably about as bad as the conflict gets, Brad, mate.
Nick does sometimes flick into manager mode, but it's usually where we need you as a manager at that point, so it's always good.
No, it's good you guys say having that kind of chemistry, because that obviously shows like if you've got that kind of chemistry behind like the turntables. It's good to have that out on. It's going to reflect that out on the dance floor, right? And that's kind of
it does. I mean, I think that people can tell. Here's a couple of guys. They're bloody loving it, aren't they? And I think that's what people see. They're like, God, these guys seem to be really enjoying themselves and really into what they're doing. And we hope that can be infectious, because people go, oh, yeah, no, that's kind of cool. We're not stony faced. Right, let's just really make sure that the absolutely, the intricacies are. No, we're just there. We're there to have a good time ourselves, and we want to have everybody else to have a good time also. And so we always put that energy in and try and bring those good vibes. We won't turn up to a gig and be like whinging and complaining. No, we'll get there and we'll be like, yeah, let's have a good time. And even if like there's tech difficulties, we've had all of that, haven't we, Andy? We've had gigs where like the CDJs don't work, so everything everything has to be on vinyl, even though we were planning to sort of bounce around formats, but there ain't no bouncing going on because this ain't happening. Or there's occasions where you can't play vinyl, so everything does have to be off the CDJ, for example. But our view is, even annoying though that may be for the punters, let's make sure that the punters have a good time, because that's really the most important thing.
Yeah, that kind of goes on to my next question then, of the production process for you guys. What would a production process look like for you, for you in the studio and things like that?
Well, for me, I don't work alone ever in terms of making records. So for me, when I'm doing a remix, I'm always working with somebody who's got superior skills to what I have, and they will be better skilled technically as an engineer. They'll be the person who's like, right, maybe if I just sidechain that might be better. Or, okay, let me edit these, get a bit more, mid on the whatever. I need to be working with people like that now. And what I'll be bringing to the table is more conceptual, right? I want it to go bum 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 bum, but the sound needs to be more like, hey, check this record from 1987. Listen to the chords on this. It needs to be something like that, and then whoever I'm working will be like, okay, more like this. No, not really. This, we're getting there. This, yes, that's the sound. So dun 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 dun. And that's the kind of way that the remixes and the productions get made, really, is me always working with somebody else. I mean, and then Andy, when you've made...
Well, when I do the re-edits, it is kind of similar in that I'll get a track that I'm going to re-edit, I'll fire it into Ableton and just work on different loops and portions that I think sound interesting. And then when I've got various bits I think that sound good, I go to see a friend of mine who's more of a hip hop producer. Actually, he even produced a track on the Biggie Smalls Ready to Die album. He used to live in New York and used to produce like Rakim and Chubb Rock and all these guys and Biggie Smalls. But he lives in London now.
Big up, Dom.
Big up, Dom. Yeah. And so I take these little loops and ideas, and he just puts it through his thing, and like Nick says, makes it sound better, and just puts all my little bits together, and we work out arrangements, and and then that seems to work pretty well.
Oh, that's good, yeah, because obviously I get a lot of people from all sorts of skill levels and skill sets, and listening to the show, and I always ask people's production processes, because everyone's production process is totally different, and just even about you guys as a duo as well, because you see, I think collaboration now in this day and age is a key thing. With so much on the market now, and I kind of just want to kind of get your advice on what you would recommend to people that want to maybe start a duo or looking to do it, and the process.
Yeah, well, I'll kick off on that one. I mean, collaboration, is incredibly important, and I'm a big fan of it. I mean, I really like being in situations where I'm surrounded by people who are better than I am in multiple different areas. I mean, I'm an artist manager, of course, well, not necessarily, of course, because people might not know what I do, but I am an artist manager also, as well as doing this stuff. And to me, it's brilliant if I find myself in a meeting where there's like an expert, radio promotions person, an expert marketing person, an expert sales person, digital, whatever it is. Great. I'm surrounded by people who know more than me in their different areas. I think that's fantastic. I don't feel uncomfortable at all in that. I want that. I want to be working with people who know more than I do in their areas. And then hopefully collectively you get the best of it all. One bit of advice I would give to people who want to get the ball rolling is probably don't try and do it all yourself. I think it's too much to try and produce record. I mean, I know it's the default setting of what people have to do to get the wheels turning, but to produce records and then possibly in some cases to sing on the records that the person's produced, but then to do the press on them and the social media and, design the sleeve and self-release it and try and get some marketing and book the gigs. And it's just such a lot that my advice is, of course, do that, at the start. But when you find people that you can work with, who can bring something to the table, try and work with other people to help you to succeed faster in those different areas, because, it will take you thousands of hours to become a brilliant producer, but it's also going to take you thousands of hours to become a brilliant music marketing person, and it would take thousands of hours to become a brilliant legal mind in the music industry, and so the list goes on. And you don't have all of those hours available to be brilliant at all of these things. So, figure out what it is where you want to focus, and then have the radar up to find people to collaborate with. Is a general, a bit of starter advice, certainly. What would you say, Andy?
Oh, yeah, I'd agree with that 100%. Yeah. I mean, the reason why, I think Reach Up has been successful is because we both bring different things to the table. I mean, because I've been DJing pretty much every week for the last 26 years, I've got a lot of contacts in DJ world, well, as you have as well, Nick, but we use the contacts we've got. I've got contacts with labels, hence getting the BBE, link done so we can do the compilation. So it's just using what you've got and what you can bring to the table. But yeah, like you say, collaborating with other people is just going to make things happen hopefully quicker and
and I mean, certainly, for budding producers out there, if you can come up with collab tracks, if you're a solo producer in Canada or whatever, there might be another solo producer who's in Berlin who you like the sound of, who's at a similar level of their career. Why don't you just hit them up, go, hey, I like the stuff you're doing. Do you fancy doing a track together? Maybe they say, yeah, great. Then you make your track. And then, of course, for you, if you're a producer in Canada, now you've got somebody who's based in Germany who has a vested interest in seeing success in Germany, in seeing it happen at certain German radio stations or getting covered on certain German blogs, which you wouldn't have had before because now there's a partnership. And then that German person is maybe getting their record played on a Canadian station or written about in a Canadian, sort of publication that they didn't even know existed. That wouldn't have happened if the track wasn't in collab with the Canadian. So, very important. Collaboration, massively important. And Andy's absolutely right. What we do together is we kind of both bring a bunch of stuff to the table, and it kind of overlaps here, but there's a bunch of skills I've got here, the skills Andy's got. We're not like the same people, and there's definitely stuff Andy's better at. There's stuff that I'm better at, but yeah, by working together, we get the advantage of all of those skills, and we both work hard. That's got to be said as well, actually.
Yeah, so work ethic.
Same work ethic. There's no problem if Andy texts me for 4 a.m. going, hey, I've just heard about this. Maybe we should, reach out to so-and-so because he's booked blah, blah, blah. And I believe these is instead of me complaining, Andy, why are you texting me 4 in the morning? I can't, you won't get that from me. I'll be like, fucking brilliant. Yeah, great. Let's get on it. And vice versa, and even if we are pushing each other a bit, we know that we're pushing for the right reasons. We're not nudging just to be a dick, nudging because it's like, come on, we want to make something happen here, So it's great, and I really feel blessed to be doing this stuff with my best mate. I think it's amazing, man. I think it's brilliant.
Wicked. That's cool, man. I love that, and like you say, with most of my reach is in the UK, US, and Canada, and Australia. So, like you say, even after doing this episode as well, is the reach from that is gonna, that collaboration is key because a lot of people feel
your figures will go up, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. But a lot of people feel so overwhelmed. Like you said, you need 1,000 hours to be a music marketer. You need all these producers feel that, be a social media expert. So it's good to kind of hear your perspective on collaboration and stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure.
So moving on from that then, the evolution of disco to the current market now and to what you obviously started with, how do you feel that evolution started? Because I liked the 2000s disco. I was playing a lot of that when I was at school doing the parties and early days in London. How do you feel the evolution is in making the music and that journey of that?
Yeah, and what's out there. I mean, Andy, maybe you can kick off on that one because, obviously the comps, you're looking at, what tracks work on the dance floor and how things change.
Well, with the whole disco thing, there's always, there's the classic old school disco side of things, and then there's the new interpretations of it over the years, of which there's been quite a lot. But it's even the original stuff and the newer stuff seems to be timeless kind of music that is always going to work in a club environment. It just seems it will always be there and always will be a thing that will work. But it has changed over the years and remorphed into something else. But it just keeps rolling. There's always just a slight change and variation on it, but it still does the same job as it always did. And I think it's great the way we always like to play the original stuff alongside the new stuff. We were always bringing in. I mean, maybe Nick's role is more bringing in the new stuff. I like to bring some new stuff in as well. But then, it's always taking a look back to what happened before as well. I don't think Reach Up would work if it was just one or just the other. If it was just the old stuff, it would just be too retro. If it was just the new stuff, it wouldn't have the original feel to it. So, and the compilations that I do try and highlight that. So there's stuff from 1979, 1981, and there's stuff from last year. So I think it's important to kind of cover both bases, because that's what we do with the club night.
Yeah, and for me, I think into the enduring power of disco and disco influenced music is, there's lyrical themes and musical motifs that truly are timeless. There, it's addressing area. Some of the great records are addressing areas and themes that are resonant now as they were 20 or 40 years ago. And really, it's that old sort of chestnut. You can't keep a good tune down, and you can't if it's a brilliant piece of music, and if it's been embraced at a certain level. Certain records do they just become part of the fabric of society. They move out of just being old records, and they become sort of part of the culture. And the great disco records, the Chic, Earth, Wind and Fire, and the I Will Survive, Donna Summer, or I Feel Love, whatever. These kind of records, they're just part of popular culture now, and they still sound great. I mean, it's mind bending. How can I Feel Love, a record that was made probably 40 years ago or something, how can it sort of almost still sound kind of futuristic?
Timeless, yeah.
Fucking 4 years old, but it still sounds great. And so there is this timeless nature to disco music, and there's been some really good stuff that's happened in recent years with interesting, cool people embracing and playing the music and producing the music. And Andy hits the nail on the head. Maybe one of the things that gives us a bit of a nice positioning in the market is that we go, yeah, we're happy to play original versions of Chic, Earth, Wind and Fire, etc. Totally cool with that. But also, yeah, here is a brand new Birdie re-edit thing. Here's a brand new track on Midnight Riot or Tinted or whatever it may be, or it might be a housey thing that I've made with somebody very, very recently. And we just go, hey, you get this wide spectrum of stuff with us. Come on board. Don't be too picky. Enjoy. And people seem to. So yeah, we're really happy that we've been able to do the things that we've done, and continue to do the stuff that we do.
No, that's cool, mate. And yeah, it kind of going on about that timeless sort of music. I want to kind of go into sort of the gigs and festivals that you've played.
Yeah.
From back in the day to now, and we'll go into like your future stuff and about the release. Yeah. But kind of what have been the best sort of shows that stood out to you from playing disco, playing the old stuff and gigs, what ones that stood out to you the most?
So for me on that one, I've got to admit I've enjoyed the scale of some of the big festival shows. So, for example, we did Blue Dot, where I think we played. Did we play after Uncle? Was it like Ronnie Size, then Uncle, then us, Andy, to finish?
I think it was, yeah.
Blue Dart. And then when we did Kendall Calling this summer, that was like a 5,000 capacity arena. And, playing in to really big environments is interesting and exciting. But also, funnily enough, whilst that can be really exciting and a great buzz, strangely, of course, equally playing in a little sweaty basement when there's 250 people losing it can be brilliant as well.
Yeah, they're always good.
Yeah, so the whole spectrum has the potential to be good. I mean, some of my favourite gigs, Reach Up gigs, were at this sort of warehouse venue called the Bussey Building in Peckham, which hasn't fully reopened since COVID. So it's another kind of victim of the changes that happened during the pandemic. But we would play there very regularly for a period of years. And on a good night, my goodness, South London Soul Train at the Bussey Building was truly one of the best clubs in the world. You might have 4 different areas of music, Andy, am I right?
Yeah, there's 4 different rooms. Yeah, there'll be thousands of people would go to this night, which was, I think it's every 2 weeks, wasn't it, in South London, with 4 different rooms of music. And we used to do sometimes the top room, sometimes the basement. And
sometimes
and sometimes 5 in the morning.
Yeah, 3 to 5 in the morning. And then, it was really like it was a club, but it felt like a festival, because you'd wander out of one room that's playing Northern Soul, and then you're into a place and there's like a brass band doing cover versions of crazy stuff, and then you go somewhere else and it's disco, and you go somewhere else and it's something else. And then the crowd had that kind of festival type vibe about them. There's girls with glitter on their face and people wearing crazy shit, and and like the big courtyard where you just get chat, where everybody hangs out, everybody really friendly, get chatting to people. So yeah, the kind of way that captured a festival atmosphere and plonked it into an urban club setting, really good. South London Soul Train at the Bussey Building, ran by Mickey Jazzhead Chronic, a great guy, great promoter. So that would be one of the best ones. Big festivals. Wow, Andy, any special memories for you?
Yeah, Beyond the Pale was the good festival for us this year, wasn't it, in Ireland? That was a fantastic one. And which was the festival? Was it I can't remember. We do too many. Which was the festival where we were playing it at the same time as Earth, Wind and Fire? And
that was festival.
How can we do a disco set at the same time as Earth, Wind and Fire? And it was
it was a roller coaster of emotions, Brad. So I told Andy, we've got the booking in, great, and what is it? Oh, I think it was Saturday night.
Nice spot.
Like whatever it is, 9 till 11. Great. What a great booking. This is fantastic. And then I think we saw all the other dates. It was like, main stage, Earth, Wind and Fire, 9 till, 10:45. We were like, oh, no, man.
Yeah. But it was actually great, wasn't it? We really had a good one. So you never know.
Great. Yeah, we were thinking, God, it's going to be a bloody graveyard, because who would see us, who would come and see us, really, right, when one of the best disco bands of all time are live on stage? But some people, lots of people did, actually. So yeah, that was a fun memory. You're right about Beyond the Pale in Ireland was great.
Yeah,
that was good fun. And obviously, when you play abroad, there's a little extra excitement to it. I find anyway, because you're seeing something different and you're meeting different people. And I felt that way when we played in Berlin, Andy, because we played at that club that was a sort of
a door.
Brad, it was one of these places that didn't have the name. It was just like a silver door under a railway bridge, and with a little, with a little thing where the
secret tap.
Oh yeah, what's the passcode?
The guy, yes, your name is down. You are coming in. Whatever. So we played that place, which was a great gig. That very sort of memorable. And then I did a solo disco flash housey thing in Thailand earlier this year on the island of Koh Phangan, playing all of the Reach Up sort of style set, and that was memorable too. So man.
The other great one I always think historically we did was Festival Number 6 in Wales, which they don't do that anymore. But we had like an 8-hour session, I think it was. I don't know if you've ever seen a program from the 60s called The Prisoner, which was set in this crazy village. Well, that's where the festival was, and we basically played in the village, didn't we? For like 8 hours.
That's it.
It was such a great one. That was that.
Bit much for me, an 8-hour set. Memories of Mallorca and keeping my my eyelids open on match 6 like in Tom and Jerry. But yeah.
8 hours. I did a 5-hour set, and like my back was killing me. I was like, I need to sit down.
Oh man. Yeah. The thing is, though, we once the adrenaline gets going, we seem to be, we're pretty good, man. And, you know, we've definitely played alongside people who are, you know, 20 years younger than us. And it gets to sort of, you know, half 3, 4, and they're going, oh, I think I'm going to get me head down, lads. I'm struggling a bit. Meanwhile, cut to me and Andy, and we're like, yeah, all right, we'll see you later, yeah? Because we love it, don't we, Andy? We do. We just love it.
We do.
What can we say?
I'm the same with music. I never used to drink when I DJ'd, and I you know, didn't do anything else. I used to just always drive to my sets, and I'd always be awake because the music's just kind of, for me personally, it just keeps me going, you know.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. You know, and that's Andy and I are the same on that front, actually. Yeah, you know, so for us, it is about the music. We might have a couple of glasses of rum and coke, possibly, or a pint of cider or a pint of ale or whatever, but it's all about the music, really. You know, we're not there, you know, and we're not propelled by anything else other than the music, basically. Where that's what we love, that's what we're passionate about, and that's what we're into spreading the word about, man.
Yeah, nice. And it kind of goes on to my question. I just quick want to brush on this is because you mentioned it, Nick, briefly about closures of clubs. You know, how do you see the sort of scene going for disco specifically with, you know, club closures? I know it applies to mostly all genres, but you know, with the disco scene, because disco is building massively now, and you know,
I think that obviously the club closures are a challenge to all genres.
Yeah.
From disco through to drum and bass, grime, anything you wanna name. And of course pop dance music, because if clubs close, then, you know, there's less places to go near the pop hits of the day. However, I like to think that humans will always want to interact in some shape or form. I know that there's lots of ways that you can interact online now, and that, you know, to some people, like, oh, you don't need to go to a club because you can, you know, do certain things online that maybe historically, you know, you might have gone to a club to meet a boyfriend, make a new boyfriend, girlfriend type connection, potential boyfriend, girlfriend thing or whatever. But I think, you just got to have a bit of faith, I suppose, that the humans will find their way to connect, and they'll find ways for the music to live on. Obviously, club closures happening, but then again, you've got a boom in daytime clubbing, wasn't the case in years gone by. Mm-hmm. So let's say 10 years ago, at 4 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon in London, you couldn't go and hear drum and bass anywhere. Maybe next Sunday at 4 p.m. in London, maybe there'll be like 4 different places where you can hear that. So that's a change, but at least it means the music is still getting heard. It is a challenge, and you know, you can't force people to head out. Of course, cost of living crisis, young people, and, you know, people of all ages don't have the money, disposable income like they might have done at certain times. But you just gotta hope that we find a way through, really. And, you know, for every gig that we do, the Reach Up nights that we do in London, you know, the average age at our Reach Up monthly residency is probably 24, 25. You know, it's not a club that's full of people in their 50s, sort of like, oh yeah, I loved, you know, hearing Shalimar when I was growing up. It ain't that at all. It's the club is full of people who weren't born when a lot of the records that are getting played were released. Yeah. And if we can have busy, vibrant nights playing to people records that came out before they were born, and it can be a successful, you know, entity. My hope is that then those people, as they get older, you know, continue to head out and spread the word. And of course, ultimately, I guess they'll have kids in years to come, and maybe some of the love of the genre will pass down to those kids, and then those kids maybe in 40 years' time, will be carrying the torch themselves. So, yeah, but tough times, man. Andy, you find that, we both know it's a challenge out there, right?
It is a challenge, yeah. And I can remember during lockdown when things were pretty bad and there was talk of a lot of places closing down. I didn't even know if I could go back into the job I had. I honestly thought that there would be no clubs open, very few clubs open. I wouldn't be able to be a DJ anymore. And in fact, when we were back in the real world, I didn't get that many gigs, which is why I now work in a record shop as well. I did that as a thing to do just because as some extra income, and now I kind of enjoy it, so I'm just still there anyway. But having said that, I've been working in a record shop for a year and a half. But now, if I look at my diary now, so I was playing in Cornwall last night with Daddy G. Next weekend, I've got like 3 days in Italy. The week after that, I'm playing in Pittsburgh, America. The weekend after that, I'm in Ireland for 3 days. It's like so much stuff is coming back in again. So I feel positive about it. It seems to be returning again. It took a while to kind of get going, but I'm actually getting a lot of more work again, which is great.
That's amazing, Andy. Yeah, I mean, what's the future for you guys then? For your plans as on the back of what you said, Andy, if things are starting to pick up again, what are your futures plans for gigs and stuff like that for the both of you?
Well, I think just reaching out and doing more things abroad, maybe. I mean, maybe some things in other cities, because we do a lot of stuff in London because people live in London, but it'd be nice to do some other cities and just try and move it forward. I mean, we do a little offshoot as well, don't we, of actually Reach Up Disco Wonderland? Because we have done a couple, and I don't know how this came about, but we've done a couple of Reach Up House Wonderland nights, which is just playing like pretty much old school house. So maybe we could, go off on that tangent for a bit as well, Nick. Do you reckon?
Yeah. Well, I think we probably will, because the parties that we've done, the Reach Up House Wonderland things have been great. We find it refreshing because we're playing some different records that we don't normally play. So we're digging a bit more deeper into the sort of classic house genre. Nice. So I'm sure there's more mileage in that. Andy's right. Ticking off places that we've not played together yet. We're working on a bunch of Asia dates at the moment, and we've both DJ'd individually in Asia over the years. I've done Thailand, Hong Kong, Tokyo. Now, Andy, you've done Tokyo. You've done Hong Kong.
I've done all those. Yeah, not Thailand, but I've done.
You've done China, haven't you? You've done China. So we both kind of individually done that stuff, but we're kind of working on doing some Asia shows together.
We're working on Australia as well, of course,
and Australia potentially.
Oh,
wow. I think it will be a bit of a further spreading out of the sort of footprint, if you like, on the live side. I think it will be some more ongoing. There'll probably be some more further mixed comp activity beyond the BBE Reach Up Volume 3. And there'll be some more production stuff. In general, I think we just like to keep doing what we do, really. We don't want to change what we do massively. We enjoy it. It works well. It is successful. It can be more successful. So, we're kind of pretty happy, and we kind of know what we're good at and sort of where our strengths lie. And that's maybe one of the good things about being a little bit older, Brad. When you're 21, you don't necessarily really know who you are or what you're good at or what you're not so good at. But as you get a little older, you get a better idea of those things. So we plan to just keep on doing our thing, man. That's us, and we talk about DJs who say, I've reached 50. I'm going to hang up the headphones. It's time to, stop DJing and all this stuff. It's not us, is it, mate?
It's not. Well, there seem to be a lot of people that are saying that at the minute as well, but I don't think we're going to do that for a while.
No, we love it, man. We love it, and and even if to be honest, before the Reach Up Disco Wonderland thing happened, maybe once or twice a year we'd get together just for fun and get in the mix around at my house or Andy's house and have a few drinks, play a load of records, and we just enjoy it, you know, just because we love music and we enjoy doing that stuff. And that's just us two in a room. So, you know, like if we're playing to 100 people who are enjoying it, that's cool. If we're lucky enough to play to 5,000 people like we did this summer at Candle Calling or more, that's cool as well. I think we just want to keep doing stuff that we love, really, Brad, and long may it continue.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing, because I sometimes feel like with social media now, the fun kind of gets taken out of the music thing, you know, as a whole, because, you know, I mean, even myself included, sometimes, you know, you're always comparing yourself to other people, but not usually yourselves, but, you know, people do, and always trying to, you know, and sometimes I've said to people before, you know, you're missing the fun part of it, which is where, you know, you should be heading with before.
We are not missing the fun part of it, I can assure you, Brad.
But I think it's a great highlight that you highlighted that, because obviously, you know, I think a lot of people forget why they started it in the first place and trying to reach that goal.
You've got to enjoy it. If you enjoy what you do, and you're good at it, other people will appreciate it. I mean, funnily enough, this isn't just music. You know, you can be a florist, and if you go into a flower shop and it's like, oh, I've got these lovely new carnations. Oh, you know what? I should got some roses in. Just let me check these out. You know, and then there's that love and enthusiasm. Isn't this beautiful? And then you'd find yourself going, yeah, amazing. You know, I'll take that. I'll take those flowers. And you know, you're doing that because the person is got enthusiasm and love, and they help you to see that product in the best light, because they put a glow around it, because they appreciate it and they care about it and they feel passionate about it. And then you find yourself going, yeah, you know, I want to buy some flowers off you, because, you know, I've got to get a buzz off, you know,
your energy,
what it's all about. And then, you know, and of course, great teachers are the same, aren't they, right? You can have a teacher trying to explain, you know, the fall of the Roman Empire to you, and it bores the pants off. And then somebody else who another teacher who's like makes it all light up and go, guys, this then the most amazing thing happened, and you're like, oh, what, you know. So yeah, it's something I'm very, you know, I like working with people who are passionate in what they do, and I like to be passionate myself in what I do. And yeah, you know, and I think as long as Andy and I, you know, continue to enjoy doing what we do, we'll be working together, and obviously we'll remain great friends. So that kind of sums it up for me, man.
Yeah,
cool, man.
Yeah, I agree. We're not going to have an argument anytime soon, I don't think.
Nah, I don't think so, mate.
Nah.
Not over that anyway.
So let's talk about your release then. It's coming up for October the 4th then. The process of it, and, you know, what's going to be happening. What people...
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so this is like the third Reach Up Disco Wonderland compilation on BBE Records. This one took a bit longer to do than the other two because lockdown happened and everything just kind of stopped, really. But it is like the other two, as I mentioned before. So it's a mixture of older classic tunes of the more rare variety, and then current new tunes as well. There's some edits that I've done myself, and there's some remixes that Nick's done as well on there. And then, you get the mix. If you buy the CD, you get the Scratch Bastard exclusive mix version as well on there. And the triple vinyl for the DJs. And I mean, it's a nice series, and I think it's sold well over the other two volumes. So hopefully, volume 3 will keep it rolling. It, you know, keeps things going for us, and it's a nice thing to have in the marketplace, I think.
That's good, mate. I look forward to it, and I'm going to share it as much as I can and promote it the best I can.
Oh, thank you, man. And, appreciate that.
Yeah, and honestly, it's a real pleasure having you guys on and hearing your story, the forming of it all, and just the passion behind everything, and the collaboration, and just, you know, the whole story has been, you know, a good listen for me. Definitely. And
fantastic, man.
Thank you.
The positive kind of things from that as well, because I like to bring information from that and take good things, and, you know, you guys are well experienced, so I think it's been fantastic. Thanks ever so much for your time.
Oh, well, thank you, Brad, for inviting us along. And obviously, anybody who's sort of listening or watching, do feel free to keep an eye on us, on the socials, Reach Up Disco Wonderland on Instagram. And then me and Andy have got our, separate socials as well. DJ Andy Smith and Nick Halkes, NickHalk, yes. And, we'll keep in touch. Thank you for your support, man. And hopefully, Brad, we'll catch up with you again sometime. Maybe the next time we're in Canada, we'll come and say hi. Or the next time you're over in the UK, come down to one of our parties, man. Welcome.
I'm normally back in the UK 3 times a year. I'll be back Christmas. I'll be back next May. So
okay, great.
Right. Quite often.
Come on down, man. I'm sure we'll have something in. We're starting to look at some December dates now, so hopefully we'll have something when you're in town, mate. That'll be
nice
great.
One. That's wicked.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. Appreciate that.
All right, Brad. Thank you, man. Take care.
Man. Cheers.
Cheers.